El Día de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is a Mexican holiday and is also celebrated by Mexican Americans living in the U.S. And at first glance, it would seem rather morbid if you were simply to look at the pictures. In fact, when I first started doing Dia de los Muertos exhibits with my Spanish classes at Georgia Perimeter College, I received an email from the Dean of Students asking for an explanation of why we were going to be having a celebration of death. So I had to explain to him exactly what it was that we were going to be doing and what the holiday was all about. And so now I'll share that with those of you who are not familiar with the holiday. It dates back to the ancient Aztec civilizations who celebrated the afterlife of their loved ones. Now they did this in certain paganistic rituals. The celebration usually lasted about a month for these people. When the Spaniards took control of their land, they had a hard time getting the native Aztec indigenous people on board with Catholicism. So they decided to incorporate some of the existing celebrations into the Catholic calendar. And there seemed to be a perfect fit, because in the Catholic calendar is All Saints' Day, Dia de Todos los Santos, which is November 1st. And this is actually where we get our Halloween, because Halloween is the night before that, October 31st. All Hallows Eve is the full name for Halloween, and it was a night for letting the evil spirits know that we no longer fear them, or trying to get rid of evil spirits. So we dress up as them to prove that we're not afraid of them. And then on All Saints' Day, the Catholic Church celebrates the saints, those who have gone before us, who have done great things for Christianity. The second they set aside as Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. This is to bring in those rituals that were so celebrated and so held on to by the peoples, so that they would be able to continue with their traditions, but wrap it into the Catholic calendar context. So the people would celebrate by remembering their loved ones on November 2nd. It's come to take 2 days sometimes in certain regions. So sometimes it's November 1st and November 2nd. Sometimes the first day is to celebrate the loved ones who have passed on, who were adults when they passed away, followed by the next day being reserved to celebrate the afterlife of children. So today's Dia de los Muertos is a little bit different in that it's more than anything a day set aside each year to remember loved ones. It's not so much to ease their passing into an afterlife anymore as it is simply to remember them and to celebrate their eternal life and to recall them specifically. Sometimes in our own culture in the U.S., we will visit grave sites at birthdays of the loved ones or sometimes at Christmas. But this is a very unique collective day for the whole entire community, in fact, the whole entire country, to be off of work and out of school in order to go together to visit the grave sites of loved ones. On this day, they often have parades and they decorate with skeletons and skulls. A lot of them are sugar skulls that are handmade, and it looks to the casual observer as if they're celebrating Halloween, whereas this is not the case. They also like to do face painting so that the paintings of the faces resemble skeletons. They do artwork where the art itself will have elements of skeletons or skulls, and lots of times flowers. The marigold flower is representative of the holiday. And they'll make food. Oftentimes they'll make food that was enjoyed by that loved one while alive. So they might make the favorite dish of Tío Pepe, for example, of Uncle Pepe. They'll also make certain foods that are traditional for the holiday itself, like pan de los muertos, which is bread of the dead, and they'll make sugar skulls, calaveras de azúcar. They can celebrate in different places. For example, they can celebrate in the streets during the parades and festivals. They celebrate at home, where they actually set up altars to their loved ones by placing candles and flowers and pictures of those who have passed away out on display. And they even go to visit the grave sites at the cemeteries. In fact, often you'll see many families visiting the cemeteries at the same time, and sometimes even picnicking at the grave site. My father is a funeral director, so as a child, I picnicked at grave sites, but that was not the norm. However, if you're in Mexico on Dia de los Muertos, it's very much the norm, and you can enjoy that time with loved ones. It's a way of actively remembering the positive moments of a loved one's life. And of course, music is usually involved too. Sometimes people play the favorite songs of their loved ones on iPods or audio CD players, and sometimes they play live music. In fact, you might even find a mariachi band show up at a cemetery to serenade the family. So perhaps this November 2nd, el 2 de noviembre, you can take time to pause and reflect on the lives of those whom you loved and lost. We wish you a wonderful holiday season, and we hope that you have many pleasant memories of loved ones who are gone from this earth, but not from our hearts, and whose spirits are still very much alive. Feliz Dia de los Muertos!